telling you to sit down.
Sorry, son.
Thank you. Thank you and good evening. Brixton PFD Committee. 7 o'clock, we're online. Let's read this out. In accordance with the Happiness of Local Bodies Regulations 2014, this meeting is being live streamed and may otherwise be recorded, filmed or communicated on other media platforms. The recording of this meeting will be made available on the Council's YouTube channel shortly after the meeting. Both councillors and officers in attendance are reminded to make full use of and speak clearly into the microphones available at all times. A reminder that mobile phones should be put on silent mode and those present at the meeting should refrain from taking telephone calls. Item number 1, apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies received from Councillor Sharon Morris, Sharon Morris, Billy Portman, Jeffrey Portman, Quincy Joshi and Dean Gamble.
Thank you. Item 2, appointed substitutes.
Paid substitutes, Chair.
Declarations of interest. None. Thank you. Minutes of the previous meeting.
Sorry, point of order. You are correct about the apologies, but surely Councillor Kataraya could be either a substitute or at least.
Joshi, I'll look substitute for Joshi.
With Councillor Kataraya as a substitute for Councillor Joshi. Thank you.
Sorry, Chair.
Thank you. Minutes of the previous meeting. May I sign?
Move. Yeah.
Thank you. Item 5, action list arising from the previous meeting. Do we have an action list, sir? Thank you. Okay, then we move on to item 6, petitions, deputations and questions.
None received, Chair.
Councillor Bolter.
You're mayor for a minute, Chair.
No problem.
Soon will be.
Yes, an urgent item, please, Chair, with your discretion. The Boundary Commission has made its recommendations, which we accept. However, the name still remains as Harborough constituency. And I feel that it ought to have some connection with Oakley and Wixton. So could it not be Harborough, Oakley and Wixton constituency? And could we do a letter from this council to that effect to the Boundary Commission?
Why is that urgent, Councillor Bolter?
Because the Commission finishes on the 4th of December. This is the only meeting it can be done at.
Thank you. Councillor Boyce.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to second Councillor Bolter. I think it's slightly odd that the constituency should be called Harborough, which may have the most land and the most sheep. However, Oakley and Wixton have clearly the most people, and it's people that elect MPs, not sheep, and therefore I believe it's only appropriate that Oakley and Wixton be included in the name of the borough, of the constituency, and I absolutely agree with Councillor Bolter. The Chief Exec is more than willing and capable and able to write on our behalf.
Councillor Ridley.
Thank you, Chair. Just to note, the original recommendation by the Boundary Commission was for a constituency called Blavey in Wixton, so that there's a precedent for the name of the borough being in a proposal. I think I was referring to that as well. Might strengthen our case.
Okay, the question's been put and sort of seconded. Any more discussion on this? Okay, that direction then is for the Chief Executive to write to the Boundary Commission and that said name change. Thank you.
Point of order. Sorry, do we need to vote on that?
No, because I've taken it as a question.
Yep.
Thank you. Item 7, third sector and community support funding requests. Tony Graham, please.
Thanks, Chair. Good evening all. The purpose of this report is to ask that the committee approve the third sector and community support funding request from the August cycle of the South Wigston Residents Forum. A sum of 2,500 was approved at the forum in August 2022 for Paddle Plus. They aim to create a paddling and wellbeing hub in Kilby Bridge. The amount in question is for the provision of artworks for 2 containers they intend to use to provide an engaging outdoor classroom and social space for residents.
Thank you. Any Councillor Boyce?
Thank you, Chair. Whilst I'm absolutely delighted and happy to support the project, I'm slightly concerned that it came out of South Wigston Forum because that was the route they came, but the actual finance should just come out of all of the forums because it would serve all of the people of the borough. So with that proviso that it's spread evenly, can I move the report?
With respect, I'm not quite sure on this one. No, I don't think Oadby or Wigston forums have discussed this item. So I'm going to defer to Mr. Gill to help.
Thank you, Chair. You're quite right that the forums at Oadby and Wigston have not discussed the matter. However, ultimately, the decision to award any money is a decision for this committee because the forums do not have decision-making powers. They make recommendations to this committee, and then this committee decides whether or not it wishes to be involved. There is a precedent, however, that we don't normally allow applications to all of the residents' forums at the same time. So if you've got an item that you want, I think the case that springs to mind is defibrillators for the responders. You know, it was frowned upon when they made applications to South Wigston and Oadby because it was felt that it was inappropriate. But at the end of the day, it's a matter for members of this committee.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. Well, I think Councillor Broadley.
Thank you, Chair. I can see that they can't make applications to all 3 forums when it's just one thing. But I don't think us as a committee should approve it without at least discussing it at other forums, because the money that each forum has, and they all have a different amount in their kitty, is for that particular area. And I'm not saying that each forum won't do it, but I think to take money out of their pot without even discussing it is incorrect. Thank you.
Can I have a question for clarity then? Is Kilby Bridge in South Wigston?
No, it's not. Councillor Bentley.
I'm just going to say, no, it's not. The canal it's linked to is still South Wigston. Whilst I would support what Councillor Boyce is saying, I would also support what Councillor Broadley is saying. The members of the Wigston Residents Forum have not had this brought before them. Can I suggest that initially the amount is taken out of the South Wigston Residents Forum monies, but it's put to the Wigston Forum and the Oadby Forum, and if they agree to it,
Is that a motion?
the money is shared.
That's fine.
The residents' money.
Thank you for that. Are you moving that as a motion, Councillor Bentley?
I would move that as a motion.
Does he have a seconder? Thank you, David Loyal.
Councillor Naveed.
Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Chair. While I'm in support of residents proposing various items through the forums, I think the Oadby Forum also needs to understand what is being requested from other forums. so they can support that. And from my understanding, the way the residents see these monies allocated, they see it that it's going to their forum for their area. We just need to make it a little bit more clearer to residents how the process is voted and how they need to understand that the money needs to be evenly distributed. I think that a little bit more clarity is needed there because the residents think it's just their pot of money and they propose items and then they just simply get done, but they don't realise there's another process, there's another layer to that where the members from here then approve that. So just a bit of clarity is probably needed there.
Thank you. I'm fairly sure that it's made clear to applicants through the forums that all requests finally have to come through this committee.
Yeah.
I'm conscious that the forum monies do not get topped up a great deal these days, and with the financial situation may not get topped up at all in the future. Mr. Graham, I don't suppose you have the figures for each forum's outstanding monies, do you?
I mean, what we do, I mean, in the past few years, has been.
Okay, Tony, thank you.
Apologies. Yeah, we move funding from pots of money we hold in reserves. So at the minute, that's what was done in previous years, but it depends on whether or not they meet certain criteria. If they meet the criteria, then obviously it's funded through capital reserves and we capitalize that way. If not, we will expense it through our revenue funds.
Okay, thank you. Right, Councillor Boyce.
The point I was making is that this 2,500 is actually outside the normal gift of any or all of the forums. Therefore, I think it's right to support it, but it's also right that it actually comes out of the underlying money which the forum monies are produced, delivered from. Therefore, I would take it out of the Health and Wellbeing Reserve, not out of the forum money. Otherwise, we're going to have an argument about who pays what, when in reality this is for the whole borough and should be paid for accordingly.
Are you submitting another motion then? No, we can't. We've got to deal with the first one then.
Yeah. So we now need to deal with the first motion on the table, which is Councillor Bentley's, that it be paid out of the South Wixton Forum, and that thereafter the OB and Wixton Forum are advised of what's happening, and if they agree, it can be moved out. And that's been seconded by Councillor Lloyd. What you could at this point is move.
I actually do not believe that 2,500 fits within the remit of any of the forums. That's why we need to have a different solution than just taking it from a forum.
The point I was going to make, Councillor Boyce, was that you could move an amendment to Councillor Bentley's motion about where the money comes from and that it comes from the underlying fund and not from the forum. And subject to Councillor Bentley and Councillor Lloyd agreeing to that, that's the way that you could proceed. So are you moving that amendment?
I'm moving that amendment.
Do we have a seconder on that amendment? Sorry to take over, Chair. Thank you, Councillor. So
is Councillor Bentley and Councillor Lloyd happy with that amendment?
Yes.
Thank you. Right.
Okay, so now we need to vote on the amendment to ensure that the amendment is agreed across the council chamber.
Okay, the amendment moved by Councillor Boyce, seconded by Councillor Broadley. All those in favour?
Okay. And then the substantive motion now becomes the grant of the £2,500 for the project at Kilby Bridge to be paid for out of the underlying funds as opposed to the forums. So that was moved by Councillor Bentley, moved by Councillor Lloyd, seconded by Councillor Lloyd. We have the amendment. You can now move to a vote, Chair.
Okay, that's the substantive now. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Chair, can we actually revisit the terms and references of the local forum to avoid this issue?
Of course.
Yes, with the, if I can just interject, we did revisit the terms of reference shortly after I joined the authority, and at that point we had this prohibition on making applications to all of them. So what we could do is have a look at that, see whether or not there's a mechanism where if a group wishes to make an application to all of them, and they can do, provided that all of the forums are fully informed, and it would be for things that benefit the whole of the borough.
Sorry, with all due respect, if we're going to break down a borough-wide thing into each bit pays for a bit, that is madness, because you are then going to put forum against forum. I remember at one point, the first responders got 200 from South Wixton Forum, because Wixton only gave 100. That's silly. If it's a wide issue, we need to have a mechanism to fund borough-wide decisions.
One of the options would actually be to top slide some of the money off each of the forums and put it in a pot, which is a borough-wide pot, and then the application would be made direct to there. Or the other option is for Mrs Bingham to find some money somewhere in the reserves and create this pot whilst leaving the forum's money intact. But it's certainly something we'll look at.
If you're going to do the former, then I would want the forums consulted on this change. We've got to be reasonable, and the forum, the money is for the forum to use as they see fit. And they would need to be consulted on any change that we propose. Councillor Bolter.
Thank you, Chair. There's an item not on the agenda tonight that should be accredited by Wixton Forum. That's for the Jubilee tree in Elizabeth Court. That was voted through by the forum some time ago. The paperwork was filled in by a previous holder of the office. I'm surprised an indicator it wasn't on tonight's agenda. But time is limited. It's true, it needs to be planted sooner rather than later. I think it was £150, which is a relatively small amount. I wonder whether the council would permit Mrs Bingham to actually do that under her powers, to actually so we can get the tree planted in the right time.
Do we know why it's not progressed? Anybody?
One of the reasons is that we've had a considerable change of staffing in the community and wellbeing team with a number of officers leaving the authority, and this unfortunately was something that was missed and wasn't handed over, or was handed over and wasn't picked up. I mean, the option is, subject to members' agreement, is that Councillor Bolter's suggestion to Mrs Bingham is that the tree is purchased, and then we can actually then bring a report back to the next PFD and do environment so that, you know, it's a retrospective transfer of the money.
That's agreeable. Councillor Allen?
Yeah, just reminding us of the point that was raised by Councillor Bolton, and that was that there was a Jubilee tree that was supposed to be planted, and nobody had the feasibility on whereabouts that would be planted was supposed to be done by a previous officer that was supporting the Open Forum. I don't know if that's got lost in translation either, but it's something that we have also requested as well.
I suggest that if members are aware of these things that have been approved in principle by the forums and not been dealt with, if you could let me have the details and I'll pick them up and make sure that they're dealt with.
Thank you, Mr Gill. Okay. Item number 8, contract exemption and supplementary budget request. John House, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. There are 3 recommendations in this report, and they all relate to the contract for the academy system, which is central to the processing of council tax, business rates and housing benefit in the revenues and benefits team. Thank you, Chair.
Is that it? Oh.
No. Sorry.
That's wonderfully brief. Thank you. Questions?
Chair, so we have no option, frankly, than otherwise we end up doing nothing, i.e. the system isn't there. I move the report.
Councillor Bolter.
Are we going to do the whole report, Chair, or what we're doing? Because it's got 2 pages.
Whole report, Councillor Bolter.
Oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong item, Chair. Item 8, sorry.
I accept your apology. Councillor Hack.
Thank you, Chair. Just very quickly, on page 26, it talks about EU threshold. I thought we were outside the EU. Can that be explained, please?
John.
Tracy.
Tracy.
So the current UK legislation still refers to the EU procurement threshold, so that is a figure that's quoted in euros that we have to convert into pounds. That's also still part of our procedure. Of course, that will be updated, and so will our internal procurement strategy and contract procedure rules to take account of that.
Thank you. Councillor Lloydell. David. Devin Lloydell.
Yes. Just point of clarification on page 26.3.2. Where it suggests that there's been no existing capital provision for the cost of 22,000. Is this a new contract or is it a continuous contract? What did we do before? And if we know about it, we would not have planned for it in the first place to avoid there being no existing capital provision for 22,000. Does that make sense?
Excuse me.
Yes, so this contract was originally through the IT partnership, and we were a small part of that in terms of caseload for revenues and benefits. When we left the partnership, we were left without a contract, and we have had to renegotiate with Capita, negotiate that contract with them, and because we no longer have those economies of scale going in with a larger group, the price and that's revenue and capital has increased, alongside, of course, the inflationary issues as well that have put this price up.
Supplementary for me?
Yes.
Sorry. From a point of view, and you mentioned it I think before your time, so it may be a question that can't be answered at this point in time. Value of the contract that is external, we brought it back in-house on a provider that it was more cost effective. Now, when I put this, are we still in that same position that it's more cost effective to say where we are? Do you know what you're sitting with? You want to get
I'm with him.
Philippa.
Thank you, Chair. From a point of view of more cost effective, I think in 2018 the report was actually brought to Council about the rationale for bringing the IT back in-house. And yes, one of the elements may have been to be more cost effective, but it's primarily to also give us greater flexibility and be in control of our own destiny from an IT perspective. And that was the rationale of actually bringing our IT in-house. So whilst we may make some cost savings, that wasn't the main driver to bring it back in-house.
Anything else? Tracy, did you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to reflect on the capital cost and just to give that assurance that there are various options that have been looked at in terms of revenue and capital breakdown. The option that we've brought forward to members this evening is the only option that looks at a capital one-off cost at the beginning of the contract. But overall, it provides the best value for money option. So it's the cheapest contract option over the term of the proposed contract. So I just wanted to give that assurance. Thank you.
very much.
Okay, Councillor Boyce has moved this. I will second it. Is there any more discussion? Okay, there are 3 recommendations, A, B and C on page 24. Seconded. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Okay, we now move on to item 9. Resolved that under section 100A brackets 4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the press and public now be excluded from the remainder of the meeting on the grounds that the business to be transacted involves the disclosure of exempt information as defined in Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act as amended, and in all the circumstances, the public interest in maintaining the exempt item outweighs the public interest in disclosing the exempt information. The live stream of this meeting will now be stopped, and Samuel will tell me when that has happened.